Headlines hailing a national housing market recovery in the US have often overlooked the widespread variations at the local level. While some metropolitan regions are experiencing bubble-like conditions as buyers rush to purchase homes, others are still suffering from the deep malaise of the financial downturn. California's capital of Sacramento, the former manufacturing town of Akron in Ohio, and the technology hub of Austin in Texas are three places where the housing markets are playing out very differently. Heavily reliant on the government and construction sector to create jobs, Sacramento was one of the regions hardest hit during the housing bust that wiped out $7 trillion in homeowner equity. Prices plummeted by more than 50% in the metropolitan region, spurring investor buyers to enter the fray and get into the rental housing business. With home values having recovered more than 20% in Sacramento since their trough, some of these investors have slowed their purchases. The problem is, regular home buyers have not come back as expected.
I think people are very nervous and they don't know what to expect because they went through such a horrible, horrible time in the crash from 2005 through about 2011. Those were awful years for people, and I think it destroyed a lot of confidence that they had in the marketplace, and now they're almost afraid of their own shadow.
Some investors, such as Carrie Crowder, are still taking advantage of good deals in pockets of Sacramento, particularly as the number of renters stays high.
We're getting really good cash flows on these rentals. This would rent probably $1,150 to $1,200 somewhere, $1,250 somewhere. Some of the areas we are priced out of because they are just getting too high. But if you can find little pocket areas that are still selling for low, you get good cash flow in them.
In Sacramento, as in much of the US, although jobs have increased somewhat, income growth has not, and many Americans remain vulnerable. In the meantime, vast plots of land ready for development remain empty. And it is not just in Sacramento where the housing market has not fully recovered. In Akron, Ohio, which for decades was known for its rubber and car industries, the downturn just dealt another blow. While the city is one of the most affordable places in the country, people are not moving there. And those that live in Akron, bar a segment of relatively wealthy professionals, are still feeling the pain.
We have people here with money, a lot of people with money. You don't always realize it. But we also have a lot of people that during the last recession still haven't really found their way. And I know that concerns all of us here, all of us in the social service agencies, at the economic development and housing, because those were the people that were our best customers for years.
Even though Akron did not see price drops like elsewhere, it has had a different kind of downturn. Employment is muted, income growth is non-existent, and those educated youngsters that Akron's universities are creating are scurrying off to other cities for better jobs and lifestyles. With a large number of people living paycheck to paycheck, owning is not an option.
I think our biggest concern is how do we grow and retain the middle class in the center part of the city. Given the job losses that took place over the last 3 decades, it's been a difficult transition, but one that I think we're making real progress on. But keeping the middle class in the city, having sufficient jobs for young people coming out of school is really our #1 challenge.
With poor job prospects and low household formation, home builders are focusing construction on a few wealthy neighborhoods. Austin in Texas could almost be the polar opposite of Akron.
10 years ago, they wouldn't build this house. I mean, 10 years ago, this land was as close to worthless as it could be. I mean, the lot would probably be worth, I don't know, $10,000 10 years ago. Now the lot's going to be worth at least $150,000. 110 people a day are moving into Austin. It's gone from 1.3 million to roughly 1.8 in the past 10 years or so, and there's just simply not enough housing.
Young talent has been attracted to the live music culture, friendly business environment, and relative affordability compared to cities such as New York. Construction has surged amid greater demand for housing. Despite traffic bottlenecks and other concerns about the city's infrastructure, people, particularly working for the tech sector, have flocked to Austin. But it faces a different kind of problem. How does it sustain this level of growth?
I fear that we will hit a ceiling in terms of the absolute dollar value for each neighborhood, and how much growth can we see beyond a point Because I feel like within each neighborhood, you'll hit a dollar value, and people will not be willing to pay more than that, because there has to be some balance, right? A lot of people we see move here from other places which are a lot more expensive. And if they don't see that cost-benefit analysis, what's the point of moving to Austin?
The sharp contrast between successful and struggling regions is reshaping the country and poses daunting challenges for US economic forecasters and housing policymakers. Without an across-the-board recovery in housing, the rebound of the world's largest economy hangs in the balance.